This presentation is brought to you by the Electronic Motor Racing Network. We are a for-hire broadcaster. If you would like us to stream your league, contact DayPaulB661 on Discord, member number 1015. Thank you, and enjoy the race.
Hello and welcome to the Captain TV Open Wheel Series on the Electronic Motor Racing Network. This is Jesse Rathman, joined by my co-host and friend Alan Bledsoe, along with driver of the 98 machine, Mr. Luke Daniels. Fellas, how you doing?
Not too bad, man. This is probably going to be a very incredible race. We are once again in a tape delay situation. We weren't able to broadcast this one live. However, I believe that this is going to be a very promising race to broadcast. We've got Luke Daniels. You're in second place in points, man. How do you feel about going into this one?
Not too great, to be honest. I felt rather surprised that I managed to start on the outside pole. I felt like I never really had much pace and didn't have enough time to really get into practice and run enough laps. As we see Robbie Oddy starting here on the black tires, noticing how far up he is in the running compared to those on the reds. He could be one to watch this race because we see this could be a total toss-up in strategy. It seems almost a dead heat between a two-stop and a three-stop race. So the question on everybody's mind right now is, do you push hard and burn up your tires, lay down some really good fast laps, and then stop in extra time, or do you conserve it a little bit, take it easy, and go for the two-stop?
Yeah, absolutely. That is the big question here, and we're going to have to wait and see it play out. As you've got Austin Saar out front right now, followed by Robbie Oddy, who has dominated the season as far as laps led and wins. So he has just taken over the points lead from you, Luke, and now here you are battling one position behind him. So a big race tonight for you guys here at the Redbull Ring, as we're working lap one still, and you want to stay in distance when you head to Indy next week. So important race for both of you guys. As you see Austin get off track just a little bit on the final turn, throw up a little bit of dust, no harm, no foul. Still building that gap a little bit back there. So what's your key focus in this race, knowing championship picture, or are you just driving this race?
Definitely championship picture, but with this little time left in the season, it's kind of one and the same at this point. You need to have a really good result here if you want to beat Audi for the championship, so that's definitely on my mind. And another thing to consider is you might see some ebb and flow with the fuel number situation. Everybody right now, if you're trying to do a two-stop, you're running to a fuel number and giving up some ultimate pace. I don't remember the exact MPG target I was trying to hit, but it's tough to do that while also not giving up much pace, especially if you're on the red tires, which get slightly worse fuel mileage than the black tires. And it's all about lifting and coasting into the corners, backing up your entry points, taking it a little easier going in, and hoping that you can do that without losing too much time. It's a very tricky balancing act to try and do. And we'll see here in a few laps who is doing what exactly.
Yeah, absolutely we will, and we're going to see him coming down the front stretch here, looking to take start lap number 3 as we've got them going back down into the first turn. Like you said, Robbie Oddy on those black tires, the first one on black tires, and it looks like those are doing okay for him right now, holding on all right, and kind of just depends on the strategy you have going for you, whether you're going to run long, which if he's on the blacks, you would think that would be the case, wouldn't you?
Possibly, or it could just be that he's trying to get his black tire stint done and over with early in the race. It does appear that the red tire is the tire you want to be on. However, the blacks aren't that much slower over a full stint. After about 5 to 8 laps, depending on how you drive, you'll probably start running slower lap times on the reds than on the blacks. Of course, that depends on how much you abuse them. However, late in the stint, the blacks start to come on, and it's a big question mark of whether it's enough to offset the time you gave up early on in the stint. Particularly in this case, when we have, for the first time, I believe this season, we have a heating track. The race started at 9 a.m. Local time here in Austria, and it's going to be rising this whole race. The temperature's going to be going up, and the hotter the track gets, the quicker the blacks come on and the quicker the reds fall off. So, maybe he's just trying to get his done and over with, but I would think if he's been out for this many laps, he's probably going to try and get a full stint out of these tires here.
Yeah, absolutely. They're currently on working lap 4 here of 50. So what is a pit window as we're looking at these top 3 still running really close lap times?
You can do 16 laps without too much difficulty. You might have to save slightly. You need a decent amount of fuel save to try and get to 17 laps. It's very doable, but it's right on the edge of that balancing act of doing it without giving up too much time. And then 18 laps, you're going to have a hard time hitting that many laps on a single stint. I don't know if we'll see anybody even try it. So with a 50-lap race, if you can run 17 laps, and then 16 laps, that gets you to the end. It's possible we'll see probably people running only 16 laps in this first stint, as we did have that pace lap. It burns just that little bit extra fuel.
All right, we'll watch for it. You see Austin kicking up some dust again there in the final corner.
And guys,
Is something easy? Go ahead.
One thing I want to mention is Jacob Locklear. It does not look like he ever started the race, so he was out before the race even started. So the 83 car just here for, looks like, last place points.
Which is a big deal for the position he's fighting. He's going to try to get up into he's in 15th position, or trying to get into that top 15. So, if he can.
Yeah, he's looking like he is. Whoops. Hang on.
One more talking point I forgot to mention. As you see Charles Baldwin back there in 10th, he actually qualified 4th, but he was given an EOL penalty for avoidable contact in last week's race at Road America. So he had, not an EOL, he had a drive-through penalty at the start of the race.
That explains why he went straight to the back.
Right, yep. But he's been fast. Again, I mean, he's fast every week, but he'll be one to watch for sure as he's trying to come up through the field. It's just, if we get a caution at some point, that could completely neutralize that disadvantage, but it's never really a guarantee at a track like this if we will have a caution or not.
Yeah, and you see him just get by Scott Wise. Scott letting out of the gas early to let him go by. So doing a great job. He's still on pace, still in the top 10. Just made that pass on Scott, so currently going to be P9 in the running order. But like you said, huge gap to make up. So that runoff right there, I see there's like a little patch of dirt out there or something. Is that something that is just on the track? Does that upset the car at all, or is that just something visual that we're seeing?
Mostly visual. I believe there is something a little bit there that does take away perhaps just a bit of grip from the left rear, but by that point, as you're straightening out the steering, it's generally not a concern as long as you're not too aggressive on the throttle. There's a couple times you might see cars bobble as they're coming out through there, but it's generally nothing worth worrying about. It's very recoverable.
Absolutely. Well, let's go on board with Luke here and see what he is seeing from the cockpit of his car. See, 4th gear right here. Let's wait till we get on the front stretch, and Luke will have you take us around a lap.
All right,
so
sure.
We are coming to the line. Let's see. Tell us what you're doing.
All right, so going into turn 1 here, I would normally brake like at the 100 or a little after if I'm trying to really push. I kind of missed the apex there, went a little wide. You really want to avoid that yellow curb that I hit there. It's a very costly mistake as you see me hit the push to pass trying to offset that disadvantage. You go around turn 2, it's just a curve straightaway and hard on the brakes for this, the actual turn 3 they call it. And this is one of the hardest corners on the track to get right. You'll see me make that mistake quite a few times this race. Like I said, not enough practice. And it's one area where I just kept giving up time to the front runners here. And then braking for turn 4, it's very tricky, easy to get it wrong and start to push mid-corner, and that affects your exit right here. And that's very important because you've got a straightaway right here. And you brake hard but quick. Don't stay on the brakes long, or if you do, the car wants to get snapping loose on this high-speed corner, which then sets you up to this next one. And then it's full throttle all the way here out to the right. You can get a lot of curb here on the right, and then a lot on the left as well. Go all the way up into 6th gear. And again, quick stab on the brakes, not too hard, not too long. Trail them off quickly. You can afford to go out wide right there. That far out's probably getting you an off track, but you can get a 1X without a slowdown penalty there. And I did kind of abuse that a little bit and had a lot of incident points over this race. Let's just say it's a good thing that no one was getting DQ'd for incident points this race.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. I just did a COTA race at COTA in the stock cars, NASCAR Cup Series, and let's just say their off-track penalties are a little stricter than I'm used to. So I had an 87X by the end of that 34-lap race.
I think I had 24x by the end of this race. Going into this, I was one of the cleanest drivers as far as incident points per race out of people who'd run the full season. Only Dan Marrera had me beat because he's like on another level of cleanliness. But I ended up losing the spot to Austin Starr as a slight spoiler there because of just how many incident points I racked up trying to keep up with these two guys.
Yeah, I think the cleanest one in that race that we just ran was his name is Dave Gage, and he had a I almost said only, but he had a 30x.
Another thing to keep in mind is this is one of the tracks where the new iRacing runoff system has been into effect. As of right now, only 2 tracks in the service use it. That's Spa and the Redbull Ring right here. Normally, the way iRacing computes a 1x for an off track is if the center line of your car crosses the white line. It's not the curb, it's the white line specifically. And that has led to a lot of frustration as you see parts of the track where you normally would let the car run out wide, and if you drive it like you would in real life, you'd get a 1x. So in this one, there are specific corners, and they have specific zones where instead of the center line being the end-all be-all deciding factor, they look at how many tires you have still on the track, which is kind of what it should be. It's closer to real life. They look at how many tires are on the track at any given point.
But do you think they should, not iRacing, but do you think going forward that we might need to enforce some track limits and things like this? I know you just said that you do it a lot, but is that something that race control should watch for, or is that just asking way too much of somebody?
Hey Jesse, just so you know, you're a little quiet.
I could go either way on it. I'm fine with whatever. I wouldn't be opposed to some sort of incident limit just to try and encourage clean driving, although most of the time it doesn't really matter because if you're racking up a ton of incident points, you're probably going into the wall or something anyway and going to ruin your race. But for this, I mean, I would have definitely been more careful if I had to be. I was able to be more aggressive because I knew I wouldn't get penalized for it. So once I got that first incident point, because remember we do also pay a bonus point if you have a 0x race. So once I got that first incident point, I was like, okay, I don't need to be as careful. It's not that I was trying to deliberately do it because I didn't want, some race control coming down on me after the fact, like, okay, this is a little bit egregious here. But if I went a little wide, got on the gas maybe a little too early, braked it slightly too late, I wasn't really losing too much sleep about it. As you see at this point, first and second are really just driving away from the 98 of Luke Daniels. We're at the point now where the black tires should be the faster tire. However, Austin Starr is doing a great job staying in the lead on those reds. I'm sure the rears have got to be giving up some grip right now, but he seems to have it under control there coming out of turn 3. Oddy's right behind him, likely running to a fuel number or something, and in just a couple laps here, we should start to see who is going to do a 2-stop versus a 3-stop. Remember, if you're doing that 3-stop strategy and you want to get off the blacks as quickly as possible, maybe you run 14, 15 laps a stint on the reds, and then run the blacks for just a few laps at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we've got quite a few drivers on the black tires. We've got Gladulich, Drift in the 14, Baldwin in the 18, 23 a lot of serve, Robbie Oddy, Zach Allen, and Jacob Locklear. Well, Jacob didn't start, but all of those guys running with the black tires to start the race. So pretty split decision up and down the field. And
yeah.
We're looking at the leaders, so we're going to jump back to, that's Zach Allen right there behind the 2 of Matt Telder. These guys have been pretty close most of this run here. It looks like Telder's put a little bit of distance on Hallinan.
Telder on the reds while Hallinan is on the blacks. We'll see if Hallinan can gain on Telder here.
Telder qualified 7th, so he's running in 5th. Good solid run for him so far. Let's see if he can hold on to it, if Hallinan closes in, or if he maybe has something for Fontaine up there in the 4th spot.
Absolutely, and let's check in on the 18 of Charles Baldwin, see if he's made up any progress. So you're looking at him here, just behind a lot of Sir now, so he's closed that gap there, so he's making some good lap time. Just trying to pace himself, see what he can do for that car in front of him, a lot of Sir. So it looks like a lot of Sir just ran a 1:17.5, and Baldwin is at a 1:16.6. So
That was a 1:16 for Baldwin, which is pretty good for long run pace this long into a stint, regardless of tire, honestly.
yeah, it looks like he did start on those black tires, and that you said should make up ground here in the long run. So we'll see if he can get up there around Ladiseur before the pit stops happen. Again, we're looking for pit stops anywhere. We are getting close to that pit window. About one more lap, you said, correct?
Yeah, if you're doing a 3-stop race, I would imagine people start to come in around lap 14 or 15. As we see, Baldwin goes a little bit wide. Remember, I mentioned how tricky turn 3 is. But the main thing is, if you get a little bit, if you get a little too overzealous in that corner and you come in just a little bit too hot, you really don't want to try to force the issue and hold on to it, because if you hit that yellow stripe of curbing on the left side of the track on exit, there is a very good chance you spin out and crash. So a lot of times, it's better to just take your lumps, run out wide, give up the time, and risk ending your whole race right there.
And it looks like Robbie Oddy has caught Austin Sarr here.
He is nipping at his heels. He appears to maybe have just a little bit better corner exit traction coming out of 3 right there. And we're at the point where the blacks, yes, the blacks should be the faster tire right now.
Oh, got a car on pit road.
Is that a 3-stop strategy candidate?
That would be Jacob Gladulich.
There we go, the first taker of a 3-stop.
Well, he was already in last place on track, so he had nothing to lose. So
yeah, why not roll the dice, see if you can come up with something.
It's, try it out.
Not a bad decision.
Yeah, and here's Scott Wise makes the decision to go by pit road, and then we've got, it looks like we'll see the back half of these top 3, see if any of them decide to come in this lap. Right now, you're looking at Jacob Gladulich and those bright pink wheels.
Definitely hard to miss, aren't they?
They sure are. That's all right. Looks like everybody so far has gone by pit road. Nobody taking advantage yet.
And Gladulich is a lap down right now with that strategy. We'll see if he can catch the leaders back up.
I imagine he'll probably get a lap back when the leaders pit here shortly. We'll start seeing them come in on 16 or maybe 17. I think going to 17 right now would be maybe a bit tough, perhaps, except if you're one of those that started on the black tires, because that, like I said, that extra fuel you burn on the pace lap, it makes it just not really. It's a situation where the juice is not worth the squeeze of trying to save that much fuel to offset it. So I think we'll probably see most come in around 16 laps or so.
Which we're getting close to that number. Matter of fact, Austin Sarr and Robbie Oddy, they are on lap 16, starting just now.
And Oddy is right on his heels. If he doesn't get around him in the next lap or two, this very well could be a situation where whoever gets a better pit stop is going to make the difference. And I know we talked about how we'd rather see passes on the track than the pit lane, but that is a valid strategy, and it's another important thing that drivers have to manage. It's not really. I mean, it's one of those situations where if you screw it up, you look like an idiot, and if you get it right, nobody notices. But it's critical, and you can't overlook it. I mean, look at how close Oddy is right here, and just a small mistake on pit road could cost you easily a second or two. And where are you going to find a second or two that easily over a stint? I mean, I imagine Oddy would kill for a second right now. So
Yeah, and that's just
he was
part of
trying to
racing.
push a little hard going into the pits here.
And let's
Yeah,
keep in. Sorry, Jesse, go ahead. You've got it.
So that's just part of racing, trying to get on and off pit road. And we've already seen this year a bunch of drivers get caught for speeding on pit road, even though they have the option of a pit limiter, as you see Scott Wise on pit road here, and Luke Daniels on pit road as well.
Right. It's not just about maintaining the speed on pit road, though. It's also about slowing down, because you want to wait as long as possible to slow down. And sometimes you wait just a little bit too long, and then you start locking up the brakes, and then the car doesn't slow down like you want it to. That makes it tricky.
And let's also keep in mind that Austin Sarr still has to run at least 2 laps on the blacks. Whereas Robbie Oddy, who actually just got around him on the blacks, he can be on the preferred tire for the rest of the race.
Yeah, and those pit road speeding penalties I talked about, Robbie's one of those that's got them. Luke, you've got them as well. So these championship drivers, the drivers up front, are the ones making the mistakes. As you see a slew of drivers on pit road. That's Morera coming off, Scott Wise coming off, Scott on there for an extended pit stop, getting some damage repaired or something.
This was a real race. I think Dan Morera's crew would have got a penalty for unsafe release there on that pit stop. Not that he did anything wrong. It's just when it's time to go, it's just time to go.
Yeah.
So we see Baldwin going to the red tires. I imagine Robbie Oddy will be the red tires the rest of the race. It's just the big question mark is, with the track heating up, are the red tires still the preferred tire at the end of the race? Right now, it seems they very clearly are, but we'll see. And both leaders coming into the pits right now. Who is going to get a better exit, and who's going to come out ahead right here?
Oddy put the reds on. Sarr kept
beats
the
him
reds
off.
on.
Sorry, he beats him out of pit lane.
Yeah, and I think that's Austin's only choice right here, isn't it? To stay on those red tires and see if he can keep that distance. Yeah, and then see if he can get around him and maybe take the blacks on the last stop.
So we saw Oddy hanging with Austin Sarr and all the way through that first stint, despite Austin having the preferred tire. And it'll be interesting to see if Austin can do the same thing when they're on equal footing.
Now, how careful do you have to be on new tires here? I mean, is it as big in the sim as it is in real life? You have to be gentle with these tires early. I know the black tires, since they're long run, you definitely do. Is the red as critical?
Yes. In fact, with the red, it's even more critical, honestly. And I would argue, I mean, of course, I've never driven a real Indy car, but just from watching the races, I would argue that you have to be more careful in the early runnings of a red stint than you do in real life. If you watch Formula One at all, it is kind of like that, which does make sense because, as we recently learned, Mercedes has announced that they are the official partner of iRacing, and a lot of their information and the data that they have has gone into the physics and tire updates for a lot of open wheelers on the service, and I believe that includes the IndyCar. And the upside is it has made this car way more fun to drive. It's one of the best cars in the sim right now. However, maybe some of that tire data that they have access to is coming from Mercedes, and it's based off of the Pirelli tires to an extent. I'm not sure how much of that is going on. I'm just speculating. But in an F1 race, the drivers always talk about how you have to take it easy early on. If you take a little bit too much life out of the tires early, you lose extra grip that you can never get back at the end of the stint. And I've seen that happen in these cars even before the most recent update. I was once in a race at Monza where I was running on the red tires, and the tires would get really, really hot because of the long straightaways. And I was taking it very easy going into the braking zones, lifting and coasting a lot, and just trying to be kind to the tires and hit a fuel number to make sure I can make it to the end. I did that. Then I ran my black stent, and then I went back to the reds, and I knew I was good on fuel, so I just started pushing hard and immediately set my fastest lap of the race. And then they fell off so rapidly, like literally 3 seconds a lap, which is just massive. And then I started backing off, and I backed off, and it got a little bit better. They started coming back to me, lifting and coasting into the corners again, but I could never match the pace that I had at the end of that first stint. And then I checked the tire wear and tire temperatures afterwards, and they were about on par. The tires weren't more worn, they weren't hotter at the end of the stint, but I still was a full second off of what I could do at the end of the stint at the end of the first stint. So a very long-winded explanation there, but I think that is something that's going on right there. And if you're too abusive to these tires early on, you take out more life than you would think.
I think that might have been track temperature related as well, because like you said earlier, this is starting out in the morning and it's ending in the afternoon, or well, later in the morning, but as the sun is rising, right?
Yeah, it could be. Although in that particular race, it was actually a cooling track, and it started off in the afternoon, and the track temp dropped. So not exactly the same situation. I mean, but that is a valid point, and that is also another thing to consider here. Because another thing that the higher track temp does, it allows these tires to come up to temperature a little bit more easily. With the reds, it lets them get overheated a little too quickly, but with the blacks, it gets them in the temperature window that you want them in for maximum grip more rapidly.
Absolutely, and you see these guys so close. Austin able to close the gap a little bit there in the first turn, and as they're coming down through kind of what looks like S's here, Austin's able to hang tough, and we'd show you the rest of the field, but honestly, this is the best battle on the track. Everybody else spread out just a little bit more than that. Maybe we go to the 77. His gap looked pretty close to the 2, but not as close as the leaders there. So we'll go back up front and keep an eye going. I'll keep an eye out going through the field if anything happens, but we want to get you the best battles on the track right now. That is for the lead. So Austin Saar,
Austin closing in on him right there. Wow. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought he was stepping out to make a pass. He is breathing down his neck for sure. It's a lot. Yeah, there's no doubt though that Austin Saar and Robbie Oddy are the class of the field right now. It's like watching that F1 race at COTA last weekend, where this is Hamilton and Verstappen going at it, and then the 98 is basically Perez off in no man's land by himself, and the rest of the field behind that.
Man, please
some good
crash
racing
each
going
other.
on. Please crash each other so Perez can win. Not biased at all. Oh wow, you see Austin Saar deep on the brakes there, locked up a little bit. That's going to cost him some time, but surprisingly not that much.
Not only some time, but also some tire wear. The more you do that, the more you wear out your tires.
That's true. Although I will say, if you are going to have a lockup, and going into a very slow corner with the inside tire locking up is probably one of the least damaging places to do that, because you're going slower by that point, and it's just one tire and not both. You actually wear the tires probably even more in one of these high-speed sections right here, especially if you're following behind somebody, which Austin is right now. So that's something for him to manage, as he's trying to close the gap. He doesn't want to get too close at the wrong point. Wow. Stepped out, thought he was going to make a move right there. He's right on his heels coming to the final corner.
Yeah, and is he too far away to try a push to pass, or do you think he's on it right now knowing this is his
They might both be on it. It'd be worth an onboard look to see, as you see Robbie Oddy going to the inside to defend there. Taking a lot of curve there.
13, Alan, if we can, since he's chasing.
Okay, so neither driver using the push to pass right here, which,
since replay, I don't think it would actually show us.
It does. It showed mine earlier. But another thing to consider is you've got the fuel mileage situation to keep in mind. So it's a difficult game of calculated aggression right here, where you want to try. Robbie Oddy locked up. Is that going to be a pass for the lead right there? Austin Saar to the inside. He's got the preferred line. Is it going to stick here through 6 and 7? Yes, it does.
Austin Saar
Makes the
pressures Robbie Oddy into making a mistake, and all of a sudden he finds himself as the leader.
Yeah, now he's the one out there being pressured, so he's going to have to make note of that and try not to have the same thing happen to him.
As one, a YouTuber says quite frequently when he plays his games, park the bus. He's just gonna park the bus in front of Robbie Oddy. Either that or he's gonna pull away. It looks like he's actually doing a pretty good job pulling away.
And it's gonna be tough to pull away from Robbie Oddy. He's got a lot of pace and he's got the draft, which at this track the draft helps you almost everywhere. There's the high speed section of 6 and 7 and the last two corners. But in most of the corners on this track, they're slow where the loss of downforce doesn't really hurt you much. And then you have the long straightaways where you're actually benefiting. But like I said, it's so easy in this corner right here to just get a little bit too aggressive on the brakes, or your turn in and the car just gets tight and wants to push wide, and here it wants to get loose.
You get 10 push-to-passes per race, right?
Right.
These two, neither of them have used push-to-pass yet. I just looked down there at the PTPs, and Oddy says 10, and so does Saar's.
Just to confirm, check mine to make sure, because, okay, yeah, there we go. It says I've got 6 left, which sounds about accurate.
Yeah, that's crazy. As we've just crossed the line and we're working the halfway lap coming back across the line. We'll be halfway in this race. So working lap 25 here, the 50-lap race here at the Redbull Ring in Austria. So these guys out front, they've been pushing each other hard. Luke, you've been back there kind of just waiting and hoping someone makes a mistake. And right there, Robbie is so much faster under braking in that corner, but then you see Austin pulls away from him just a little bit as you see some lap traffic up ahead.
Yeah, Scott Wise in danger of going a second lap down. Looks like he's had some trouble throughout this race, but unfortunately we haven't been able to catch it. No track map tonight, guys. For whatever reason, the track map isn't showing up in the apps that I use, so
Well, we've got the battle for the lead. We've also got a battle back for 7th position. As you want to hop on the 18 of Charles Baldwin.
He has gotten around Joey Ladisseur, and
that's also Dan Marrera.
Dan Marrera just now. Wow.
So he's making some moves up there. If he were to get a caution, it could change the outcome of this race for sure and put him back in play. But right now, we just crossed the line for halfway, so we will see how much more positions he can get up. He is now running in 7th position, so doing a great job after that drive-through penalty. And we will go back up to the lead and watch that battle for the lead as we are going to, let's put it in chopper mode, and then we will go to side-by-side as we watch the battle for the lead, and we're going to take a commercial break, and we will be right back.
This presentation is brought to you by the Electronic Motor Racing Network. We are a for-hire broadcaster. If you would like us to stream your league, contact DayPaulB661 on Discord, member number 1015. Thank you, and enjoy the race.
And welcome back. You are watching the battle for the lead heat up here on the Captain TV Open Wheel Series on eMRN. And Austin Saar still up front. You saw on side by side with a little front tire lockup getting into that hard braking zone right here a lap ago as he gets a little bit more again. But
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Get on. No, you're good. Let's get on the gearbox of Austin and watch how much ground he makes up through some of these corners.
Yeah, now we're coming into the part of the track where being in the lead is an advantage because he's going to be creating some dirty air for Robbie Oddy to follow through. That's going to hurt his downforce and overall grip as well. But then we're coming out to a straight, and then once we get to the front straightaway, the situation reverses, and being in the lead is no longer advantageous. But it's got to be, it's a testament to both drivers with how close they've been racing all race like this. It's so tough to be able to race like that with somebody breathing down your neck. It takes a lot of focus and concentration to not make a mistake, and both drivers have been very fast and very consistent, and when they do make mistakes, they're pretty small, which, well, they have to be, because it wouldn't take much of a mistake from Austin Saar here, just a slightly poor exit, and Robbie's
right here.
Right
here's where Audi always gets those hard braking in that corner right there.
And actually lost a little bit of ground there.
Yeah, he always loses just a little bit on exit, but he closes the gap on corner entry there. So as we jump back.
Well, it is normal to see the leading car seem to drive away from them in that corner because it is so slow and the cars accelerate so fast that, if you're getting on the gas a tenth of a second sooner than somebody, that does allow you to start pulling out a large difference distance-wise before the draft begins to take over and the car behind regains and overcomes that advantage. So it's a little tough to tell with that, and it's also tough to tell in the braking zone right now because you don't know how much lifting and coasting is going on. But wow, you do see Robbie Oddy right on his heels coming out of the final corner. Is he going to try something here in turn one?
I think he's setting him up. I think he's trying to set him up.
Trying to get a really good exit here.
Yeah, he's trying to make him think a little bit that he's going to, but then he doesn't. He's done that the last 2 or 3 laps. And what I think he's doing is measuring how close he needs to be when he finally does get on that push to pass. And because he does lose the downforce as Austin locks up again getting into that turn.
Manages to keep it in front of Oddy there.
I was just about to question whether he's doing that to try and psych Austin Saar out and try to pressure him into a mistake like that Oddy made earlier to give up the lead after the first round of pit stops. But speaking of pit stops, while all this is going on, we ought to be coming pretty close to the second round of pit stops. If you are on a 3-stop strategy, I imagine we'll be seeing you down pit road any lap right now. And
Drift has already hit pit road.
The leaders on a 2-strap strategy should be coming in lap 33, 34 or so.
Yeah, so it looks like Jacob Bladulich, who was on that 3-stop strategy, has already made his pit stop 3 laps ago. So he is back out on the track 2 laps down with a decent little battle of those guys in front of him.
It's just really impressive how close the battle for the lead is right now. I mean, we've got the top 2 separated by half a second, sometimes less. And keep in mind, we're 31 laps into this race. A really fast lap around here is like 1 minute and 14 seconds, and a lot of times we're going to be running minute 16s, maybe even a little bit slower depending on the tire and where you are in the stint. So if you're talking roughly 1.25 minutes, by this point, you're like 40 minutes into this race. And we haven't had a caution. So just 40 minutes of just full throttle, all-out running, and we still have the first 2 cars nose to tail fighting for the lead.
But we also still have 20 laps to go.
That's true, and that can change at any time. And once again, with the second round of pit stops coming up, a slightly better or worse stop can make a big difference. Normally, a second's not that huge, or at least it doesn't seem like it. But like I said, when they're that close as Robbie Oddy and Austin Saar are right now, second or two, that could potentially be an insurmountable advantage.
Yeah, and a little bit back further in the field, you were just watching it a little while ago, the 77 of Sam Fontaine getting heated up by the 2 of Matt Telder. These guys are running pretty tight right here, too. And then just behind them is the 74 of Zach Hallen in a couple seconds. So all of these guys doing a great job here tonight, just keeping it on track, and have learned a lot throughout the season. We've said it a lot. This is a learning series. And everyone here has clearly picked up their game from the start of this season to definitely having one of the best races that we've seen here on the Captain TV Open Wheel Series. And one of the best we've broadcast here on the Electronic Motor Racing Network. So we're just thankful for all of these drivers, all the time they put in, the effort they put in. As you see Sam get a little wide, and Matt's trying to make up that ground.
And also thanks in part to Luke Daniels. I mean, you're putting in some excellent insight, man.
Yeah, for sure. And to join us here tonight and give us some of that, and in the past where you've given us this insight of how these cars drive, kind of the mechanics of it, what exactly these guys are doing lap after lap, and just how impressive it is. It's impressive to watch, but even more impressive to hear what it's like behind the wheel.
Hey, one driver that's really impressing me right now is Zach Hallen, and you just mentioned him, and he's not too far off of Matt Telder, and he's running in 6th place right now. Going into this season, I believe he had very little road racing experience and virtually no IndyCar experience, as far as I know, and he has improved a lot to where he's picked up a lot of pace. I mean, the results don't show it right now. I believe he had a mistake or two, but like as far as just raw pace, he's with everybody. I mean, his best lap of the race was like 2/10 off of Sam Fontaine. I mean, 4/10 off of me, like 6/10 off of Austin Sarr, who's currently leading this race and has like almost a 3,000 I rating on road. So, when you look at the guys that have been around for a while, Austin Sarr has run a lot of road races. Robbie Oddy, he's run some, but he's also just like really good and run road to pro stuff, and a lot of that does transfer over and just in the way you analyze your driving. And then me, I've got this is basically my second full season of IndyCar, and I've done a good number of road stuff as well. And Sam Fontaine and Matt Helder, same thing there. And so as you're running down this list, the odd one out is Zach Hallinan with way less experience than the guys he's running around, and he's improved a lot. He's the type of guy that I think this league is really intended for, and it has allowed him to develop a lot as a driver. And the same thing for Joey Ladisseur in 9th. I know it's not a great result for him right now, but he has also found a lot of pace and is fighting for top 5s very frequently as well. So it's really cool to see how these drivers have progressed. And
as we're looking at the battle for the lead, looks like Austin goes a little wide, and Robbie Oddy's going to take it underneath him here, and they're going to run side by side down the, I guess what would be considered a backstretch.
Oddy's going to have the inside preferred spot right here. Is he going to be able to get it, or will Austin cross him under right here on the exit?
Not going to be able to make it this time. Robbie Oddy back out front right before the pit stops. That's what happened last time. He got him right at the end of a run, right before pit cycled through.
It'll be interesting to see how this shakes out after the pit stop. I imagine we'll see them both coming in at the end of this lap, and Oddy can stay on the reds if he wants, whereas Austin is going to have to put on the black tires. And as of right now, so far in this race, the reds have been the preferred tire, even over a full stint. You see the 98 of Luke Daniels coming into pit. Possibly a lap early. He's going to have to stretch that fuel a little bit to make it all the way to the end.
This is actually splitting this run, so you should Luke Daniels should be able to make it through.
Well,
as you put on the black tires here. But the big question mark is, has the track heated up enough to where the black tires become the preferred tire for a full stint? Will Austin Sarr give up some time early on? Will he be able to hang with Robbie Oddy and then press his advantage late in the run? Or is Oddy going to drive away from him with the better tire right now?
Yeah, and I think that's the 18 you're looking at on pit road right now, Charles Baldwin.
And guys, one thing I want to note is, going back to Zachary Hallinan, I want to mention that Dan Morera has been doing this for a very long time. He has Morera has a 4.6 Class A safety rating on road course racing, and Zachary Hallinan is actually outrunning him.
Yeah,
on
and
raw
something
speed.
else I just saw, I believe, is is Austin Sarr on pit road?
He should be coming
Yep,
into the
there he
pits
is.
now.
Yeah, Austin Sarr on pit road.
No,
And
not
let's watch
quite.
Luke.
Did
Not
he
yet.
just come out of the pits?
Oh, I might be.
Yes, he's on black tires. He just pitted.
Yeah, he just came out of the pit. So
But it looks like Robbie Oddy stayed out. Did he stay out an extra lap?
Looks like he
just
came in, yeah.
Huh, that is a lap later than I would have expected.
Ran 19 laps on his tires.
Well, with it being a replay and you haven't rewinded for that one replay that I missed, I am not on the same page, but I did notice this is ahead of where I'm at. So I did notice Luke Daniels in the 98 did do a power slide through one of the corners after his pit stop. So that's going to push him a little farther back than the running order than a lot of these other guys. But you can see the front two right there still within striking distance. Audi, a little better pit stop after everything cycled out.
And Audi now they are on different tires, so we'll see where that sends or how far back that sends Austin Sarr, and see how fresh the tires are at the end of this run. See if he can catch him back at the end.
Yeah, and if, like you said, Luke, if the track is heated up, then those tires may be the preferred tires now, and possibly, if that happens, maybe Austin can come back and contend for that lead on those black tires. But we'll have to wait and see. And we told you about that power slide for Luke Daniels. I think with it being a replay and the way we're having to do this, it would just be really hard to go back and find that without using the track map as our tool that we normally use. But Luke, do you want to tell us what happened there? Were you just getting off pit road with cold tires?
It wasn't just off of pit road, I don't think. I'm trying to find it right now. It's definitely worth the watch. It was quite the brown pants moment. Actually, yes, it was cold tires getting off pit road. Lap 34, if you are curious, going into turn 6. I mentioned how that corner, the car wants to get loose. And, well, it can definitely cause a major slide that is not really great for being kind to the tires early on, like I talked about. It's gonna hurt you a lot to do that.
For sure. So,
I'm just glad that I didn't wreck doing it.
Yeah, I just happened to catch it out of the corner of my screen when we were talking about pit stops, and it was quite the moment. So, looks like who do we got on pit road here?
He's finding the replay.
We are actually going back and taking a look.
We're coming up to it right here, so should be in 2 corners. At this point, I've been on the reds the whole race, and then now switching to the blacks takes some adjustment, and the red and black tires don't necessarily always handle the same way balance-wise. You might need to make an adjustment on your bars, and I guess I just missed it here. And
oh boy, maybe we should call you Drift instead of Jacob Gladulich.
Yeah, that was a wild one. I don't know exactly how far I had the wheel turned, but it was past 180 degrees. I think it was a situation where I had to let go of the wheel with one hand so that I could still turn it further.
Yeah, that was quite the save. So while we get recalibrated, there you see it from again. This is Luke Daniels in '98, one of the championship contenders. Just gets really loose and manages to lock it down and save it. So as we get recalibrated, we're going to take a short commercial break, and we will be right back before the end of your race. You're watching the Captain TV Open Wheel Series on the Electronic Motor Racing Network. And welcome back to the Electronic Motor Racing Network. We have caught back up to the action where we were at as Robbie Oddy leads over the 13 of Austin Sarr with a little bit of lap traffic ahead, so that could be a factor.
I can't tell who that is.
Looks like Lotta Sir possibly.
Yeah, that would be Joey Ladisser.
And he's going to move over and let Audi by. Very respectful of the leaders here. No sense in trying to fight there. But as Austin Sarr has fallen off quite a bit from Robbie Oddy, who he's been battling all race long.
And yeah, I think it's just the difference of those red versus black tires. But we'll see as the laps wear on if that advantage starts to come back to Austin Sarr as the reds begin to overheat. The question is it hot enough? Is it going to be enough? Is he going to have enough tire left at the end, or is Robbie Oddy going to build up so much of a gap that Austin can't overcome it in time? And also, thinking about it during that break, you know, Oddy pitted a lap later than I would have expected. And to run 17 laps, everybody's having to lift and coast a little bit, take it a little easy. He may have been thinking, hey, if I can extend this more now, run my 16-lap stint at the end, then I don't have to lift and coast that final stint. So he's going to be pushing more, whereas Austin is still going to have to be saving fuel somewhat if he wants to make it to the end of this race.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a good point that you bring up, is fuel is always such a factor in these cars, as you see. I'm glad you let get out of the way for Austin Sarr in second place there as well. And the fuel mileage is always a big deal in race cars, but in these cars, it seems like it is so much more on the forefront of every race. It doesn't matter how long it is or how short it is. Fuel mileage comes into play in these Indy cars, I feel like, more than any other cars. Luke, is that kind of your take on it as well?
I don't know about more than any other, but it definitely does play into this a lot. And ironically, I would say especially here, because at the beginning of this season, when Chris Scala was putting together the rules and everything for the series, when he decided on an amount of fuel to use, it was this track that he did a lot of testing at. So this is the place where that fuel limit was set for the series. So it's kind of funny that it ended up working out so well here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. A big thing that we can do in iRacing that I kind of wish real race cars would implement is, you know, especially, you know, as an oval guy watching the truck races and the Xfinity races with no green flag pit stops. I would love for them to shorten those fuel tanks and make them pit, but they don't do it. But we're able to do that here in the sim, and we enjoy watching these pit stops unfold and just see who can put a full race together as we have to work through the green flag laps, the caution laps, the pitting under green, under yellow, making those decisions on tires and when to take them, and all of that comes into the sim, and it's just a lot of fun to watch as we're on board here watching the Austin Saar in second place.
And I think that also
that gap as we've got 10 laps to go. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that fuel limit also fits well within the theme of this being a beginner-oriented league, because with more limited fuel, that makes the runs shorter, and it makes your job as a driver managing the tires just that little bit easier. It still is tricky to do, no doubt about it, but it would be even harder to do if you were staying out there for a few extra laps every stint.
Yeah, no doubt. What is the fuel limit here? Is it 60 or?
It's 80%, so
80,
14.8 gallons instead of the standard 18.5 gallons.
All right, so we've got a gap, it looks like, of... it jumps around so much, but I saw about 10 seconds, so we'll go with 10. And that's a pretty big gap in 10 laps. Oddy has increased his gap over this run.
And he is using all of the runoff there, all over the racetrack. One thing that I've heard many people say is, I bought the whole racetrack, I'm gonna use the whole racetrack, and I think that's what's going through Oddy's mind here.
For sure, he is definitely one of the better ones about using every inch of it available, and I've learned that from watching him. It can make actually quite the difference, even being just not even half a car width over, closer to the grass as you set up into the corner. You do that all the way around the track, that's 2 or 3 tenths right there. It's huge.
Such
and
subtle
so
movements
hard to get it right.
too with the wheel. Like, I just looked at that. Like, you can see just how the tiniest of little movements can move your car, 6 inches and make a world of difference in going into the corner. Like you just said, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. And if you notice here, he's really not leaving much room on entry or on exit. He's taken up the full width of the track to really maximize the performance of those tires, and that is a big part of his success, is that his ability to do that and really push to the limit. Wow, really look at the braking there. He braked really late into that corner. He is definitely not trying to save fuel. He's pushing pretty hard, and you can see that on the lap times. He's still running in the 15s, which is a pretty good lap around here in the race setup. I don't know if he'll fall off or not into the 16s, where Austin Saar is running right now.
Yeah, he ran his fastest lap of the race on lap 37 right after he put these red tires on. So certainly pushing hard here in this last stint, trying to get as big a gap as he possibly can. And it is reflecting on the leaderboard as we have gone up to about 17 seconds a gap now between he and the second place driver, 13, Austin Saar. Luke Daniels still in third place after that power slide through turn 6. Sam Fontaine running fourth. He's done a great job all race long. He was getting heat. He's getting heat from Matt Telder earlier before those pit stops, but has put a gap on Matt of about 5, 6, 7 seconds as well. And then Matt's running out your top 5. And then we've got Zach Hallen. We spoke about him earlier, still in P6, doing a great job. Charles Baldwin has closed the gap on him, and Charles has been our biggest mover of the race for sure. Qualified well, but then had to do that drive-through penalty at the beginning of the race, and has had no caution laps to help him, has driven himself up in contention for a top 6 finish here today, and doing a great job in that white and pink car hop open wheel car. I almost said the I word that we're not allowed to use.
Oh, yeah, because of
Mr.
rights.
Penske wouldn't be happy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Charles doing a great job here, and as Robbie has left Austin Sarr, this is the closest battle on the track.
I'm surprised
Yeah.
we found it because we don't have a track map.
Baldwin is definitely one of the cars to beat. He's been really fast all week. Well, I mean, it's to be expected at this point. He's really fast every week. So if Zach Hallinan can stay ahead of Baldwin here, that's actually quite an achievement because Baldwin is no slouch. He also runs in TI, or now it's to be called the AOWRS, an unwieldy acronym standing for American Open Wheel Racing Series, because as the aforementioned Pinsky, we cannot include the IndyCar word in a series name, apparently. But he races in that series along with guys like Isaac Morris and Kite Bommersbach and a lot of really good high-level guys that win a lot in officials, even in top split and stuff. And so him coming here and running against Hallinan, if Hallinan can stay ahead of him, that really shows a lot for his improvement as a driver to be able to do that. And if you look, I mean, Baldwin might be catching, but I don't think he is right now.
I think he's pulled the gap since we've been on this battle. He's definitely increased that distance between him and Baldwin since we've just been watching. So Baldwin has a lap fresher tires even. So no, I'm sorry, he has a lap older tires. So that could come into effect a little bit. As you said, there's pretty big fall off here, but yeah, he's definitely driven away from him with now 5 laps to go as Oddy crosses the line. Look at how much wheel he's using compared to Oddy, who we watched a little while ago. I mean, he's getting hand over hand there.
He is driving it really hard here, trying to catch that 74 car.
Yeah, there's a lot of wheel that you can use in these cars, and it will take it. But that's, just because it can do it doesn't mean you want to do it all the time like that. But he's been driving really hard all race long, so he's familiar with what the limits of this car are, and he's done a great job to get himself up to P7. And it's going to take some phenomenal driving if he's going to be able to catch the 74 of Zach Hallinan.
And he's caught him a little bit in this part of the track, but I don't know how much longer the tires are going to be able to handle what he's doing to it. Of course, you don't really need that much more time. You've only got 5 laps left.
Yeah, you see a little bit of oversteer off the corner.
You see Robbie Oddy still managing to run somehow in the 15s. I'm starting to think that what Austin Sarr was hoping for was that the red tires would fall off quickly and the blacks would be the preferred tire for this final stint late in the race. Starting to think that's not really going to work out for him. His Oddy's got quite a gap built up, and it looks like he's going to have his work cut out. It would take some massive fall off or a major mistake from Oddy in the last few laps for him to overcome that deficit. I mean, basically, it looks like Oddy's race to lose at this point. If he doesn't lock up or go wide or have a spin, Luke Daniels moment, then as long as he doesn't do that, I think he's got this thing handled, even if he starts falling off a little bit at the very, very end. Yeah, I mean it's a good race from him for sure.
Yeah, for sure. We saw that a lot out of him in the beginning of this season. But ever since he got that first win, he has been no mistakes, no holds barred. And, I mean, this would be his 5th win of the season, which would be a league high. And it's just incredible what he's been able to do. He has missed 2 races this season, and he is the points leader going into this race by 20 points. Yeah, I'm sorry, I probably made you feel pretty bad, Luke.
Well, I would just like to say he did also get provisionals for the races he missed.
Fair point.
And, the points lead wouldn't be as big if the 98 hadn't been speared by another driver who shall not be named. who may have served a drive-through penalty for said incident at this race.
Not bitter at all, though, huh?
Oh yeah. I'm not salty at all. Totally.
That's funny. So, well,
we're
of course, we're talking
said-
about the 18 there.
We're
Charles
watching
Baldwin.
said driver drive down the 74 right here. He's within half a second of him now.
Yeah, breathing down his neck. It's putting on the pressure on Hallinan right now. Going to be interesting to see if he can hold on to it. It does look like Baldwin has a bit of a run coming out of turn 1. See if he's going to try something going into the brakes here going into turn 3. He's a little too far back. That's a little aggressive move right there. It's kind of late. It's within rules though. I mean, it's not quite a dive bomb or anything. It's just a bit late. Definitely ballsy for sure. But
we know he's an aggressive driver, so.
I definitely know.
He's been known to stick it in there, and whether he's got an inch or a foot, he's gonna try to make that move, and he's gonna definitely push the limits, and is able to get away with it most of the time. Now, there's some times where that doesn't happen, but had a couple incidents throughout the year. But he's an aggressive driver, and it's paid off for him a few times. As we're coming around, as Robbie Oddy's coming around to get the white flag, and you see Baldwin has moved into that 6th position, and Robbie is coming through some of the final portions of the track before it's going to take the white flag. And again, we've said it all race long. I mean, him and Austin, we thought Austin was going to have something for him, and then we hit this last pit stop when Austin's forced to put the black tires on, and Robbie already served his time, and he's going to come across the line with 1 lap to go and has a tremendous gap over 2nd place at the moment. And he's going to go into the first turn. Robbie Oddy is going to be looking at, as Alan said, possibly his 5th win if he can keep it on the track. He has started 14 races. He's started on the pole for 10 of those. He's finished in the top 10 12 times. Only missed out a couple times, and those may have been his provisional starts. Of the 816 laps that he will have run if he completes this lap, if he wins this race, he will have led 377 of those laps. That is an unbelievable number that he does right here as he's working through the second half of the course. And he's going to come back around. He's done such a great job all day long. Pressured Austin, got by him right before the pit stop. And he's coming back around and has made this race not as easy as it has been in some of the races. But he's doing very good here late. Obviously, him and Austin battled it out. Austin wasn't able to keep up in the final stages. As Robbie Oddy comes across the line, he's going to win the race at the Redbull Ring for his 5th race of the season. Now we're looking back at the 18. It looks like the 74 of Hallinan has gotten back around him.
Oh, what happened there?
Yeah, we'll have to go back after the checkered flag and see if what happened is Austin Sarr crosses the line in 2nd. Luke Daniels crosses the line in 3rd. And now Zach trying to hold on here. Can he do it? He's going to try to put a little bit of a block on. I think Baldwin, I think you're right, Luke. I think he's just a little bit too far, but he's going to be on the push to pass if he has it.
Yep, burn him up. It's the last lap.
Use
him, yeah, and he's on it right now. He's probably going to try something going into this final corner. He's trying it, and slammed the door. It didn't work.
Not done yet, though. He's got another shot.
You know, there's a saying in racing.
No, too far away.
Yeah, too far. There's a saying in racing. Sometimes you just got to lick the stamp and send it. I believe it's Danny Rick that said that. I'll say this about Baldwin for sure. There are no unlicked stamps in his house. They are all pre-licked and ready to send.
Yeah, they do not.
Your
right
rear
that.
bumper has felt one of those sends. Or rear wing.
Hallinan's almost did, but it ended up working out for everybody there. Some good racing action and a lot of fun. Let's see. Oh, we've got Robbie Oddy in the other chat. We can pull him in for his winner's interview.
Yeah, we did. We saw that. And we've also got whoever Scrub is. So we've got Robbie Oddy, the lead. Oh, I just moved him into the wrong place. Sorry. I thought we were in the other Discord. So we've got Robbie Oddy, our race winner, here in the chat with us. Robbie, man, tell us about your race. You had a lot of pressure there from Austin throughout the entire race, and then that final stage right there of the race where you got those red tires on, you got ahead of him before the pit stop, and then was able to pull away.
Yeah, it was really a fun race, being able to race with somebody like Austin that close, and really pushed each other pretty far. I felt pretty confident. Being once I knew I could hang with him on the black tires, I knew it was just a matter of time, just limiting the mistakes.
Yeah, and tell us about that battle there. I mean, you guys battled pretty much 2/3 of the race there. Those first two stints, you were at a disadvantage with those black tires for a little while, and then you went on the reds and were able to. You actually passed him coming to pits with the black tires on. Then he got back around you after the pit stops. What happened there when you locked up going into one?
Yeah. Well, you got Pat. I was in map 5. It was really a fuel mileage race, and I didn't want him to save more than I could, so I started letting off and easing onto the brake, and I just let off and hit the brake a bit too late. But it worked out good because when I got behind him um, in the draft, I could save a lot of fuel. So
Yeah, and you did a great job with that. You saved the fuel when you needed it to, and you pushed at the end when you could. And you came back with a very big lead there at the end of about, nah, that's not right. I don't know how big it was, but you were able to pull away. So congratulations on that. You got anybody out there you want to thank?
not really, no.
All right. Sounds good, buddy. Well, we appreciate it. We've got Austin in the booth with us as well. Austin, like we just said, you and Robbie had a great battle. 2 stints of the race there, and then that final one when you were on the black tire was just a little too much for you. Tell us about those early stints of the race, though.
I mean, as Robbie was mentioning, I mean, this was really a kind of a fuel mileage race. There was about 10 to 13 seconds advantage to a 2-stop over to 3-stop, so doing everything you could to get there. Could have been closer at the end. I made a couple strategic errors partway through the race. I'm kind of a one-man show, so I can't see outside of my own box sometimes, but if I had grabbed black stint 2 instead of reds and pretty much ran the same stint 2 that Robbie did stint 1, we would have both been on reds within a second of each other at the end, and if I had pitted the same lap as I could have as him at the end of stint 2, we would have been same fuel, same tires, pretty much same everything, and 1 second right there, but a couple strategic errors, and that put me back, I think it was like 8 or 9 seconds by the finish.
Yeah, well, I mean, you did an awesome job there throughout the entire race, keeping up with him. You said you got a couple mistakes. We didn't notice it up in the booth other than, pitting off a lap here and there, but it's awesome to watch you guys battle throughout the whole race. That was definitely the closest race we've seen for the lead probably the entire season. So
yeah, I mean, it was going to be real close for a while. It really wasn't until I was in the pits for the second time where I kind of started to realize, like, oh, I'm not in a good place to compete anymore. But I was actually farther into my strategy than I thought I could be. I've got a handful of endurance racing tricks to save fuel when you're in the lead and don't have a draft, so I mean, that's 17 laps first stint, to match someone map 5 in the draft. I mean, I got there. I could have done another 17 in stint 2 as well, but for whatever reason I just decided not to. But definitely a good strategic battle there, and I mean, all of our passes were literally just waiting for each other to make a mistake. I think there was one pass that Robbie made where he got a good run out of 1 and made the pass happen into 3, and I think everything else was, we were just waiting for each other to make a mistake to get past each other, and we were close enough just to, every time that little mistake where we'd run wide or lock up or something, I mean, that was our opportunity to get by and, be the first one heading into the pits and the first one out for the next stint.
Oh, absolutely. Well, with that second place finish, you solidly are in third place in the championship points, ahead of Dan Marrera and right behind your teammate Luke Daniels. So we're going into Indy next week. It's going to be another fuel mileage race, as it always is at Indy. So go get them, man. Good luck.
Yeah, it should be a good time. We'll see how the cautions change the fuel strategy. That could be a huge monkey wrench in the gears, and maybe we'll end up with a little bit more of a sprint race as opposed to a mileage race, depending on how the cautions play out.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be fun. We appreciate you joining us, Austin. So we're going to get Luke back up in here for his third place. And then I think we've got Charles Baldwin to tell us about his race coming from the back as well. So, Luke, we got your input throughout the entire race. You lost a little bit of ground to the championship lead again with Robbie, now a 37-point lead going into the last race of the season. Is that a insurmountable task going in there, or if Robbie has trouble and you finish well, is that a mountain that you're able to climb?
Well, it's not insurmountable, but it's definitely not ideal. I feel like I should have done a better job this race. Should have put in more practice and been closer to the pace. I was honestly surprised that I was able to be as fast as I was in that race, because even just like a day earlier, I wouldn't have been anywhere close to that. I wouldn't have been in the top 5. But I was basically in a situation where I could either run with their pace, with Austin and Robbie, and run the same lap times as them, or I could hit a fuel number that I needed to do the 2-stop strategy. But I could not do both. And that reflects on the preparation that they did going into this race and the job they did behind the wheel to be able to pull that off when I straight up could not. So, yeah, it's going to be tough at Indy. However, Indy is double points, so I basically need to win and have Robbie finish like outside the top 4, depending on bonus points. So basically, without the bonus points, if Robbie is 5th and I win, then I think I would be the champion, but it's going to be a toss-up. One thing I definitely cannot do is allow him to win. So, yeah, it's going to be a nail-biter for sure, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of calculators being used to calculate the points as they run and all that stuff, and I'm looking forward to it and also really anxious about it tomorrow night.
Absolutely. Well, good luck to all the championship guys, the 3 that we just talked to, Robbie, Luke, Austin. Good luck to all 3 of you guys, and we'll be there next week to watch it for sure. So we've got Charles Baldwin with us also. Charles, you had that drive-through penalty at the beginning of the race, and you come back to a 7th place finish there. Congratulations on that, man. You were driving the wheels off that thing tonight.
Yeah, it was definitely a tough race to do, balancing saving fuel and pushing hard. But in the end, we probably not the finish result that we wanted, but still good enough.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun to watch you come up through there. We saw you and Zach battling on those last handful of laps. You got around him, and then something happened there at the end where he got back around you. Did you have a lockup, or how did he get around you?
Yeah, going into the first corner on like the second to last lap, I think, just pushed too hard, being pressured from behind. He's a good driver these past few races, and went off track and got a slowdown penalty that I had to serve and just never got back around him.
Yeah, well, man, it was fun to watch you come back up through there. It would have been interesting if a caution would have flown and had you been able to get on the same track as everybody else there. You definitely had the pace to keep up with the top 3, even the top 2 there, so it would have been fun to watch. So, like I said, we're going to Indy. You guys are going there tomorrow, so what are you looking forward to there? Is there something that stands out to you that you can manipulate or do?
Not much, just a good finishing position.
All right, well, we look forward to watching it, and we look forward to having you guys all there next week, and we appreciate you joining us tonight. So that is all of the drivers that we've got here tonight to talk about the race with us, and we appreciate them joining us. Alan, do you want to put a final bow on this before we get out of here?
Well, I don't really know what else to say. We had an awesome race for the lead for most of the race. Just some calculated mistakes that kind of let Robbie Oddy pull away, but great racing throughout the field. Charles Baldwin did a good job driving through the field without actually driving through anyone, if you know what I mean. And I mean, it's going to be an interesting, a very interesting race for the championship. By the looks of things, by the math of it, the championship is 37 points apart. Taking a look here.
Yep, that's what it is.
37 points between first and second. And Austin Sarr is 79 points out. He is not in contention for the championship. I don't think Austin Sarr is even in contention for second place.
Technically, he is. Remember, Indy is double points, and it pays 50 points to win normally. So it's 100 points to win. And at a normal race, the difference between first and second is 10 points, but at Indy it'll be 20. And then so, you get like the difference between first and say fourth, that's like a 30-something point swing. So, if one of the championship contenders there has a bad run, has a bad luck, gets caught up in a wreck, or, gets a speeding penalty on a green flag pit stop, any of that can throw a complete monkey wrench into all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All those gaps are totally doubled. So, I mean, like Luke was saying, like, it's 20 points difference first and second, and it's going to be like 30 between first and third. And, all the way down like first and, sixth or seventh, like, you could lose your championship if you have a real bad race and your competitor has a real good race.
Robbie Oddy, if he finishes fourth while Luke Daniels wins, that could be the difference.
I'm paying Taylor $5 to take out all three of them so I can go back to first.
And that could happen. That is Dan Marrero joining us. So we're gonna, so you're paying $5 for Taylor to wreck everybody.
Yeah, he's gonna come from last all the way to the turn one and take all three of them out.
And that wouldn't be surprising. I mean, that he's up to something like that, isn't he?
I'm counting on that as my strategy.
And I think it's a solid strategy to count on.
Starting from the pits.
Yeah, so, well, we appreciate all of you guys joining us. It's been fun. We apologize we've had to do some tape delays, but for you guys to all join us here in the booth afterwards to make it a really good time for all of us to get together, talk about the race, watch it all together, and then come together at the end like this and just bring it all home for all of the viewers out there, all your guys' families and friends who like to watch what you guys do on a weekly basis in this open wheel car league. So it's always a good time. We appreciate Captain TV for letting us do it. We'll see you guys next week at the Indy 500 kilometers. So we'll see you guys next week. We'll talk to you later. Have a good night. We're out.